Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Callie, and today I'm going to be doing some of my bookish pet peeves. So this can be whether or not it's like a visual thing or things that can even happen within books. So I'm going to get the most obvious one out of the way, and I even have an example. I have several examples, but this is the first one that came to my mind. Cover changes. I hate them. Don't get me wrong. I love each of these covers individually, but you would never in a million years think that these are a series. And I will say, at least kind of side to side, like, no, even then, no, not really. They don't have, like, if we look over here at my Nevernight collection, you can tell that that is a series. They flow nicely, they match. These don't match. And I hate it. It annoys me deeply. Now, with aesthetics of actual book covers or physical books, I'm actually one of the few who I love deckled edges. And I feel like I should find an example of deckled edges because not everybody knows what they are. So deckled edges are these. So they have that like unevenness in the actual pages. I love deckled edges. I think that it gives the books texture and it gives them character. I really like them. I know that it irritates a bunch of people. I've even seen some people think that this is like a misprint when they get their books. Another instance of, and it's just a personal thing, I like it when there are chapter numbers opposed to chapter titles. I always find that chapter titles they typically give away too much of what's going to happen in that chapter. And I can definitely understand and sympathize why people would like that because you're kind of getting that sneak peek of what's happening. But I would prefer to completely go in blind. So I like either numbered or the other thing, and I'm indifferent, is when we're switching point of views and the chapter heading is just what character we're following that chapter. I really like it when we bounce from that. Speaking of bouncing off of, I hate it. It always throws me off, and I see it a lot with multiple POVs. There is one POV who is typically our like main character who their chapters are in first person. And all of our other characters that we get the POV from in the book, but they're not the main character, they're in third person. And I hate that because my brain has to switch from going from the eyes and, I said this, that kind of thing, to then the character names, so-and-so said, but you're in so-and-so's point of view. It throws me off and I hate it. It's just frustrating. I would rather pick a tense for the entire book and roll with it. Now, I don't have a preference on tense. Well, I like both first and third. I am one of the people, when I am a type of reader when I'm reading a book, I imagine the main character as myself. And I typically place people in my own life as the other characters. And then I adjust their features to match the description. That's typically how I visualize when I read. So I like first person more. However, if a book says that, it's in third person, it doesn't deter me in any way. I actually never look at the tense of a book until I actually open it and start reading. So it's just never been a thing I've ever cared about. So I have an issue when the book switches from one tense to another just randomly throughout the entire book. I think something that is a really big pet peeve for a lot of people, and I think this pet peeve ended up turning into a joke, is the releasing a breath they didn't know they were holding. I love that line. I think it's hysterical, and I think it's very realistic, especially in those types of scenes, because usually they're romantic scenes, and as someone who is currently writing a book with romance, I have had to catch myself with writing that phrase, and I have to try and figure out a way to write it differently so that it doesn't become one of the, let a breath out that they thought that they forgot they were holding in kind of book. And I find it really funny that it's become as big as it has, and it's become more of a deterrent to other readers when it's just a phrase. I feel like I'm going more off of what I typically see as pet peeves and my opinions. So I may change this midway through of just my random bookish opinions. We're gonna go with that, because that seems to be where we're headed. Cliffhangers. That's a biggie. A lot of people hate cliffhangers. I don't. I love cliffhangers. Don't get me wrong. If the third, fourth, whatever, next book isn't out yet, I'm unhappy. But the cliffhanger does its job. If the cliffhanger is good, then it does its job, and I'm going to very patiently wait for the next book to come out to see that resolution. I think the best instance of that I can think of off the top of my head is Aurora Burning. Aurora Burning has one of the best cliffhangers. I still think about it on, I would say, like a weekly basis, because I need some resolution to that. And Aurora's End, which first off, that title scares the crap out of me. That comes out, I want to say, in the fall. And you best believe I'm pre-ordering the crap out of it and getting my hands on that book the second I can. So I like cliffhangers if they're done well. There are cliffhangers that are done poorly. I can't think of one that's been done poorly, because then I've most likely got rid of it, so it's not on my shelves. Another big bookish opinion that I see a lot is the argument of audiobooks. Now, I think audiobooks definitely count as reading. You're consuming material into your brain that's, that it's a part of a book. That's reading to me. I guess you're listening to it, but it's still reading. I listen to audiobooks every day. But for me personally, I can only listen to audiobooks of books that I've already read, because I have a tendency to zone in and out when I'm listening to an audiobook, because I'll put audiobooks not necessarily in the background, but I only listen to audiobooks when I'm driving, taking out my dog for a walk, stuff I can easily be distracted or my focus will go elsewhere. I do it when I go shopping alone as well, so that just definitely happens. So I try not to listen to books that are new to me through audio, because I know I'm gonna miss something. So right now, I'm doing my Throne of Glass reread all through audiobook, which the audiobooks are fantastic, and I highly recommend them. So I do use Audible, just because it's the easiest way. I also have Libby and Scribd, but I think I use Audible the most. But that's because I'm really behind on my credits. I think a random bookish opinion that I see every so often is the eating or drinking while reading. Now, for me personally, I can only drink while reading. I can't eat while reading, because I have that fear that my very, very poor hand-eye coordination is going to make me spill out my book. And I don't really want to test that. I don't know why that goes away with drinking, because I typically am drinking coffee or tea when I read. And it's just not any better. Although I have yet to have an accident. Watch that be, watch that just jinx the crap out of that one. Another opinion that I have is when I read. So I try to adhere by, and I know I'm very weird with this tendency, I adhere to very strict reading guidelines. They're all my own guidelines. But basically, I have a goal to read at least 100 pages a day. And I use an app that tracks my pages per minute. So with that goal, I also have a goal of reading an hour a day. And I don't have a preference of what time of day. I'll read during my lunch break. I'll read at night. I bring my books to like appointments where I have to wait. Like today I had a car appointment and I just sat in the waiting room and read like 50 pages of my book. So I know that people like to just, either stop a book. I have to stop at the end of a chapter, and I adhere very much to, I have to get to 100 pages. However, if 100 pages ends in the middle of a chapter, I will finish the chapter. And then when I go for my next, I call them my reading sprints, is what I call them in my house. when I do my next one, I will still do that 100 pages, but now it's from that 112 or whatever that chapter ended. And I just find it's easier to break things up that way. It's easier for me to fully digest what's happening and even come up with reviews as well. I think the last bookish opinion I'm going to go with is I think that people should be able to read what they want. And I know that sounds super cheesy and super corny, but I'm on a lot of different like Facebook groups, Instagram, and even on Book Talk. And I have been finding that the communities there or surrounding books have become really toxic and are not... It's very hard to explain if you're not already in it and you don't actively see it. But the way the community is people have been chastised for what they enjoy reading. And what I love about reading is you can get different opinions from different people with different points of views, and they see the story differently. That's why I love pushing my favorite books on Brittany and Sarah. I want to know how they see the book. And it's not necessarily about the plot. I mean, yes, the plot, but then there's also the like Easter eggs. Like Brittany and I are, we're big ACOTAR fans. And she's actually currently reading Silver Flames. And so I get texts from her every so often when she hits a point, and she has other theories. And as I am now being able to tell her my theories, we can bounce that off of each other. And we learn that we see different scenes as, through different lenses. And that's one of the things I love about what a book community should be, is you can understand and get a better grasp over what's happening in a book because you get to listen and hear to other people's point of views. Whereas right now it's, oh, you read this author, you're a trash human being. And that's really the big tone that has been going on. And I've kind of stepped away from Book Talk, at least a little bit, just because it's gotten so bad. But I am a firm believer, just read what you love and don't feel ashamed for it. And I will die on that hill, because that's what reading is you're, hallucinating to dead trees. And it's great. That's what my cute little sign says too. Because I can respect that there's going to be books that I don't like. And some of those books are some of Sarah's favorite books. That's one thing. Again, I love being able to trade books and get those differing opinions. And even with Brittany as well, where, oh, she hated that book, but I fell in love with it. But I fell in love with it because I saw things as XYZ. And when I would explain that, she'd be like, oh, I never saw it that way. And she'd be like, well, I didn't like it because of ABC. And I'd be like, oh, I didn't even think about that. And you get that twofold understanding of each other. And I really like that conversation. So with that, I'm going to end this video. Let me know down below some of your bookish opinions, because this video took a little bit of a detour from my original plan, but that's okay. I only had the title of this video and did not really plan it because I'm trash, and that's okay. So please like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. We post videos every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday, and I will see you guys in our next video. Bye!